you know what? Make yourself a sandwich at home.
And support Sandy Collar. All right, welcome to this special edition shortcast at Reaction TV. I'm your host, Christopher Jensen. I'm joined by actor and director Jason Turner.
Hello.
Today we're going to be discussing crowdfunding for film. In particular, Sandy Collara's current project, a independent sci-fi horror film called Shallow Water. His campaign has about 6 or 7 days left, Jason?
Yeah, it's got 670 backers. It's just under 220,000. But the goal that the man needs is 550,000. And I've got a few things to say about this.
Seems like Sandy has gotten, as many individuals who put up these fundraising campaigns, a little bit of heat from the armchair critics who honestly have nothing to do with film. I mean, I'm sure some do, but they seem to have raised a bit of an issue over like him asking for so much. What do you think that is?
I think a lot of people, and I'm just gonna throw this right out right now. First of all, Sandy, a lot of the people that are looking at your Kickstarter that are repeat views, probably 200 of those are from me because I've been looking at your campaign every day since it launched, and I've just been like, I'm sweating there with you, man. I feel for you. People that are, and this is something that kind of drives me nuts, but people that like movies tend to be, they think they're the most authoritative on how movies are made and how much it costs. And, oh, you could do this, in your backyard for $50. Well, that's great, but you're going to get something that looks like it was made in your backyard for $50.
Exactly, and Sandy has definitely indicated that point, in his rebuttals, and is getting understandably tired of the responses in that stead, because it's easy, from this growth of independent film with the tech being out there and being cheaper to not recognize the fact that Sandy is established in Hollywood. He has a number of short, very popular films out, and he's worked in the commercial and film industry for decades.
He's designed toys. He's done a lot of conceptual art and sculpting and things like that. Obviously, if you have been paying attention and not, been under a rock for the past 20 years, he did Batman Dead End, which is probably the most popular, amazing Batman fan film ever made.
Arguably one of the first viral fan films ever made.
Yeah, one that actually got, some press and some attention. He was like an overnight star because of that. And I was like, I didn't see it at the Comic-Con. I've never been to that Comic-Con. I've only been to the one locally, but I did hear about it, and I was just like, wow, that sounds really cool. And when I finally had a chance to watch it, even just, on a big TV online, I was just like, this is really awesome. I hope this guy makes a movie someday. Well, guess what, people? He is making a movie, and he needs your help.
And that's one of the, core things, a good, example out of his resume, along with the movie he produced. I mean, later after Dead End, produced one called World's Finest, which was a little bit of a tease towards what we're going to see next fall, basically. Batman v Superman. He had kind of a little bit of a connection there in World's Finest. Then he went on to do a full feature called Hunter Prey, and in each of those examples, you can see the pedigree of his skill set. Not only just being in the background working with legends in the prop and kind of like filmmaking industry, but he shows a clear eye to producing a high quality film.
Yeah,
and people, that are now in this generation that are learning and pulling things from internet documents and the latest how to make, the best film under $60.
Yeah.
Can never understand like what this guy knows and see the vision he's got. And I think that the money he's asking for is not unreasonable at all.
No, I think it's actually a very reasonable amount, and I posted this recently, but I did a pitch for a project that I've been working on, and that you're working on too, Iron City Chronicles, for a while. And, I pitched it to them. They're like, wow, that's like a $60 million film, I was like, okay, Hollywood money, yeah, $60 million. I can't imagine, He's like, the low figure, or the right figure is probably about 10 or 11 million. I'm just like, okay. So I thought about that. And then when I saw this campaign, I was like, he's not even asking for $1 million. I mean, that's like, but he's going to put forth this quality of work. He's already put a lot of his own time and energy and resources into the campaign. And that's the other thing you and I have been talking about. It's like some campaigns, it's like film campaigns usually are just like the underdogs of funding. Like you see campaigns for like, games and cards and inventions and stuff, and the money comes flowing in. They usually get overfunded, because it's like, wow, they're getting a product. Well, this campaign is actually giving out some cool stuff. It's not just like, oh, here's a poster and a T-shirt, goodbye. It's like he's got the movie on DVD, Blu-ray. He's got action figures, art. I think somebody's even pledged for the suit. I think somebody's actually getting the suit from this.
and some of the things he's added over time as the campaign matured with these incredible. Sandy's an incredible sculptor. And just with his work within the industry, I mean, he's produced these nice little statues and maquettes of all of the characters and stuff that not only are great fan collectibles, but really broaden an understanding of the universe he's creating in this. And he wrote in a post recently, because somebody was telling him that, oh, you've revealed too much, in what you've given us in the campaign. And he's clearly stated, you've never seen anything. He says, there's something big at the end of this film that if I can get it done and show you, it will blow your mind. And I believe him. I mean, I have no reason not to. He's proven again and again that he has incredible vision.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that's really interesting about this also is that if you look at the campaign and you look at the conceptual trailer that he put together, you do see the monster quite a bit, but I don't think it's in the mindset of here's exactly what we're making. This is exactly what we're going to get for this amount. That's not really. I don't think that's really what's going on. I think what's happening is that he's showing the monster. He's like the way the campaign video is set up, and then he puts the trailer in there. It's actually very, very well designed. And what's really, really frustrating to me is the fact that people are like, well, it kind of looks like Pumpkinhead, or it kind of reminds me of Predator, or it's kind of like Godzilla. Well, you know what? Whatever. It's not those guys. I love Predator. I love Alien. I'm huge, huge, huge science fiction fan. But it's like, this is something that is going to be different and new. And to be quite honest, kind of a breath of fresh air, even though it's underwater.
I've got to give a shout out to, a friend that we made during the production, of Iron City. We met down in there, Josh Hex Mortis. Hex, I guess, by most of his friends, and he's a prop maker and designer. And in relation to what Jason was just saying, he brought up a good point, because we ourselves were a little bit, on edge at times when people compare the hero of our film to different people, and we were like, well, he kind of is, but he kind of isn't. And Josh made this great point of saying that, people relate to everything based on their own experiences.
Right.
So they're going to draw from what they've seen recently or seen in their past. And so if they have a more narrow view of horror, science fiction, or monster films, they're going to make that correlation like they're doing with the creature in Sandy's film, and will not see the really incredible uniqueness and originality of this creature he's designing, and that's okay. I mean, that's something that basically everybody has. I think Sandy's fine with it, to a degree, but I think it's something everybody has to look at, when they do these campaigns and do this process, is just not take that input, to heart necessarily, because they're not really knocking you. They're just coming at it from the angle that they, can relate to.
Well, and that's something that, they, that people will say, like, for example, I watched Hunter Prey. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a very, Jean-Giraud Mobius kind of, heavy metal 1970s sci-fi project. I loved it. And, but I could look at it and I'd be like, well, this kind of has some elements of Star Wars and a little bit of Halo and, all that. But it's like, this guy gets the language that I want to read, or he speaks my language kind of thing. Stuff that I'm interested in, he's taken something and made something original, and that's what's cool about it.
And a good mark in some of his film, in the, maybe short library of officially released, films he's produced, like Hunter Prey. I think a really solid mark of that correlation is that where you and I would see these, connections to Star Wars and things like that, it's interesting to look at. There have been different smaller independent film creation shows that talk about prop creation and filming stuff like that have themselves drawn inspiration from Coller's work. And that, again, is another aspect of this guy's vision. If you can produce something that inspires other people to copy you, you're onto something.
Yeah, and I think, I one thing that I find interesting about him is that the guy knows he's done his homework. He knows. He's put together a fantastic campaign, and even in the middle of the campaign, he's been going to conventions. He's been, talking to people. He's been, he's been pounding the pavement. I mean, he's probably exhausted. As a matter of fact, we actually reached out to him and said, "Hey, would you like to, do this?
Join us here.
Join us." But, and I said, I understand if you're busy because you're in the last legs of your campaign. The guy's probably, he's taking it with stride, But I mean, publicly, it's, he's got to be like, yeah, I'm doing fine, but I'm going to make this movie no matter what. But there's a part of me, and I'm just going to say it. I'm kind of pissed off. I'm actually very pissed off that this is something that is so cool, and people are just like, they come and they look at it and like, and then just go on. It's like, if you think you can do better, then you do something better. But you know what? You can't. So why don't you contribute to something that could be better and could be new and iconic? And, I mean, I'm devastated, And I mean, he's raised quite a bit of money. I mean, he has raised quite a bit of money, but it's not enough. Kickstarter is all or nothing, That's the thing.
If, considering the amount of press it's gotten, I can see not only it on my feeds, I've seen it trending in Twitter, within the last 2 weeks. It's getting a lot of press on various independent news sites, all I'm sure due to Sandy's work, promoting it. And similarly to you, I'm frustrated on the angle of that, especially now. I mean, we ourselves, Jason and I, have, experienced the stress of these campaigns, especially towards the end, when you're not quite to the goal you want to get to. And we know that it's got eyes getting onto it. And we know the theories and the ideas that, within the last 2 or 3 days, a lot of funding could come in, But what bugs me is that if you do go by, like Jason says, and you look at this thing, you say it looks cool, there are oftentimes, just like with his, and especially with Kickstarter, you don't have to actually buy into any of the perks if you don't particularly want them. But if you truly like this film, the way you show your support is giving a donation, giving anything, giving even $1. Because if you think about it, that's the calculation, at least that I go through in my mind. If I'm out there running a campaign and I need $1 million, I only need 1 million people out of potentially 7 billion people in the world to give me $1.
And, there is a lot of, I think there is a lot of eyes on this campaign, and what kills me is that, there's going to be a surge, those last few days. Will it be enough?
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big jump. Maybe there's somebody sitting in the background that says, "Oh yeah, I got $10,000 to throw at this thing. No problem." That's still not as much as he needs.
Right.
I mean, he needs quite a bit more. But it's like, you had a suggestion about having a campaign that was kind of concurrent, like the last 30 days or something. What was that suggestion you had?
Well, in regards to the what I think basically would be one option for him, and I'm sure he's had a lot of people advising him, but to me, I would certainly want to getting this close and having this much attention onto it. I would probably be preparing a backup plan, and I would start with, everybody knows that the alternate platform, of course, to Kickstarter is Indiegogo, and that one has 2 options. You can do the all or nothing, or you can do the flexible, which means every $1, aside from the fees that are collected, you get to keep that you raise.
Yeah.
And I think that if he's not already doing this, Sandy, if you don't have this in plan, get some people to help you. Take everything you have prepared right now, and prepare a go-go and get all the hoops lined through so that on, the final hours, if you're not close enough to meeting your goal, you can post to everybody that's going to be guaranteed glued to the screen waiting to see what happens with this campaign, to just run over, to immediately, as soon as this campaign stops its funding tier, say, hey, go to this link, pledge again, same rewards are available, all the process, help me raise the money I get to this thing. And with a flexible funding thing, hopefully you get a big chunk of that money.
Yeah, and the reality is that whenever you do these campaigns, I mean, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, any of them, they're going to get their cut.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're going to get their cut. So the thing about his campaign is that $550,000, all of it, it's not necessarily going to the film.
No.
There's a pretty good chunk of that that's probably going to get kicked back to Kickstarter if he makes it. And that, that makes sense because, it's a platform and they're very, very visible. So I understand that, what the amount is, I don't know. And honestly, I don't really care. I just want this thing to succeed because I'm not, I mean, this isn't even my project and I'm feeling stressed out about it, and I'm just like, well, maybe it's not meant to be right now, but it'll happen, but
Sandy's been struggling so long.
Yeah.
And when and I don't mean that in the sense of that he's been obscurity, because we've talked about that he's had successes in other areas and definitely, certainly in areas of the toy markets and commercials and things like that. But if you ever get the opportunity to watch the Behind the Mask, correct?
Yeah, the Batman Dead End
is a documentary behind him making his most famous, short film, Batman Dead End. And there's no way you cannot get attached to this guy. Mm-hmm. You cannot understand the struggles he's been through and see that he is every filmmaker. Mm-hmm. He may have a different path of success and different things he's accomplished in his life, but he has suffered some incredible knocks along the way and persevered. And so it makes it very personal, I think, to anybody who sees that, to want to help this guy achieve what he wants to do, because, film is going to be greater for it. That's just the simple fact.
And I understand it might be a distribution thing or whatever, but, one other thing I thought of is like, you know what? I saw Behind the Mask Batman Dead End documentary, and I was just like, wow, this guy, this guy's really something. I knew he was something anyways before I saw that, but then after I saw that, I was like, well, I'm totally going to donate to that campaign. And what's funny is, it's like, you know what? If anybody has a copy of that and you have somebody who's sitting on the fence saying, well, I kind of want to donate, but I don't know, tell them to watch that, and I'm sure they will go forward and, throw a few clams at it,
Exactly. Sit them down, force them to watch it, because they will enjoy it. I mean,
it's really cool.
It's a really cool story.
It's a really cool doc. And, he has like, I think it's the artist Neil Adams.
Yeah.
Neil Adams, who draws Batman, talks about it. And he was like, I was jealous of this guy. He got Batman right, It's like, I mean, say what you want about, Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan. This guy, in a span of 8 minutes, he captured everything that was cool about Batman with a pretty comic accurate costume. A guy that is ripped like Batman and can move like Batman, and did like a really cool, probably a lot of people's favorite shot. One of my favorite shots is when he stands up and the cape just kind of disappears. And I'm just like, that's awesome. And you can hear him like in the outtakes on the wild production audio. He's like, holy shit. And that's the thing. It's like, and that's the thing. It's like, yes, that is Batman. This is not Batman. This is not Predator. This is not Pumpkinhead. This is his own creation. Mm-hmm. But I don't get why people are just sitting on the fence about it. And if you're waiting until the very last few days to decide whether or not to pledge, don't do that. Just go ahead and pledge a few dollars, Mm-hmm. And then, I know what I know what they're doing. I've kind of done this before too, but on smaller campaigns, I'm just like, well, doesn't look like they're going to make it, so I'm not even going to bother to pledge. But, sometimes I was like, you know what, I'm going to take that bite and just chew, and see what happens. He's reached out to other people before this campaign and tried to get this funded. I'm not sure which podcast it was, but he did mention that. Like, I think somebody asked, why are you using Kickstarter? And he said, well, I've already reached out to private investors, and they didn't seem to want to bite. So he's reaching out to the grassroots community, people that, if you're buying comic books or if you're going to the movie theater, don't go to the movies. It's like, how much does a movie ticket cost now?
$8 maybe.
Yeah, it just depends on where you're going. But like, instead of buying a movie ticket to a movie that is probably not going to be as good as this, take that movie ticket money and throw it towards this. And tell all your friends about it too. I mean, that's the real thing. It's like, it's word of mouth. I've been plugging this thing hardcore on social media. I've been talking to people in person about it. I feel like that, I'm going to get killed by the monster if I don't have this thing go through. And I'm not even anywhere near the ocean, but it's just like, I really want this thing to succeed. And I feel like, guys, just take a chance on something new,
And take a moment, basically, and think about your individual fandom and how you basically support the movies that do come out in the mainstream Hollywood thing. You do it through the box office. You do it by buying that ticket. Whether you come out of that movie wanting to stab your eyes out or not doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You are ensuring that movies that you may or may not like get produced by going to that theater every week or weekend or every month, whatever you do, and effectively voting by paying that fee in the theater. There's nothing different than that. Look at the litany of flops that we have had from stellar directors, from independent directors giving incredible chances within the last year alone. And these people were given the same types of chance that Sandy is asking from us. Yeah. And so just treat Kickstarter like the box office. Yeah. Make a choice and decide, okay, I want to see this film. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you buy your ticket
buy
now.
Buy your ticket. Buy your ticket for you and a couple of friends if you're buying a higher level perk or whatever you're doing. Or again, if you're not after a perk and you're just there to invest, look at it that way. Buy your ticket in advance. And then when this movie comes out, because guaranteed, even if you don't buy a DVD, this will go out somewhere. It's either going to get a theatrical release, or it's going to get a DVD release, and somebody you know, or it's going to get online. You will see the movie eventually.
Also, this is kind of an interesting way to go about it as well. Investing in films is very sexy. You go to a party and say, "Oh yeah, I just invested in this independent film. Should be coming out sometime next year." But I mean, I think the other thing about it is, Sandy, whenever you do this project, if there's any way I could pull some cables or hold a light or throw some stage blood on a character and then run off camera, I would love to help you with this because I'm really into this. I think this looks so cool, and I feel like one of the things that he's also been struggling with is that he probably feels like, I know he has said thank you to everybody for all the support he's getting. But it's like, what about the people that are not supporting it, Mm-hmm. Why are they not noticing this? It's got to be all over the Kickstarters. It's got to be all over the tweets, Mm-hmm. Every time I tweet about it, it says something like, BackerBot retweeted your tweet. And I'm just like, what? Is it an actual bot? Does anybody look at BackerBot, But, I feel like if people could just take the time to take a look at it and really honestly say, this is something that will be worthwhile and interesting. And another thing that other people don't realize is that he doesn't have, Tom Hardy, or I'm trying to think of an actor right off the top of my head.
Just big names in general.
Yeah,
so what the money he's getting for is going to largely be on screen.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the campaign, you look at the videos, he's not in the pre-production phase. Like, he's long out of the pre-production. He's just trying to get the money to get the film on screen.
To go into production.
And probably post-production as well.
Yeah.
If he can reach this goal and get this money, it's going to get on screen really fast. It's not an aspect of, where is he in the process? Is he going to complete it or not?
Yeah.
This guy will do it. He's already done a good portion of it right now.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting at is that, he doesn't have any, name actors attached,
right.
Which, let's be frank, if there were name actors attached, that budget would probably triple easily, and that's the reality of the Hollywood machine, if you will. But this is completely outside of Hollywood. He's doing it all on his own. He's doing all the artwork, and he's got an amazing looking creature. And I have a feeling, it's going to be lit, probably lit differently than it's shown in the video. But it's I feel like maybe he did that, and I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe he did it that way because it's like, there's a lot of people that go to the movies and they see a movie trailer and there's 5 or 6 spoilers in the movie trailer,
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, wow, I just saw the monster and that's not supposed to happen until so-and-so. It's like, no, he's basically saying, this is what we're doing, right out of the gate. We're doing a practical effects creature film. If you have any doubts about how cool this creature looks, look at the trailer,
Mm-hmm.
look at the photographs, And then once he gets to the actual film, people outside of the Kickstarter family that have, donated to this will not know about the Kickstarter campaign. They will not know about this. And then they'll be like, wow, that looks really scary. I can't wait to see it, So that, I hope that this campaign succeeds. And if it doesn't, I'm going to, have a drink and probably be angry for a few weeks.
This is ultimately the rally call, folks. We need you to take a look at, if you have not gone to it, go to Kickstarter.com and look up Shallow Water and search it out. Look down through the pledges. If you don't find something that's particularly interesting within the perks you want, then just pledge money. Give a couple of dollars. Again, go for the box office fee, do something.
Mm-hmm.
There's 6 days left in this campaign. He's a little over, half of what he needs in the process. It can be done, just watch the video, make a connection. If you need to go and watch Batman Dead End, you can find access to it online or on Netflix.
You can look up Batman Dead End right there on YouTube.
Yeah,
there's 5 or 6 people
check out the
it.
Behind the Mask documentary to get a little more insight to what this guy is about. But there's no reason why he can't achieve this. He's asking for a very small amount. There have been so many campaigns that I can't even believe why they succeeded.
Oh,
This is
that's
not
frustrating
asking too much. It's like, I'm going to be planning to donate myself on payday coming up here. and I'm going to lock in stuff no matter where the campaign goes. And I hope to follow Sandy if he does go on to another funding platform, which there are a few others. But
yeah, and if it does come to that, and he does have to go to another funding platform, everybody that's pledged, hopefully will transition over and say, well, Kickstarter's all or nothing, but you still got my, $20, or you still got my $125 or whatever, And I was at the smaller tier at first. When I first jumped onto it, I was just like, I'm just going to get a DVD, But then I kind of got sucked into the art. I looked at more of the videos, and I kind of saw. I was like, well, wait a minute, he's giving away a book. I love conceptual art and stuff like that. It's like,
he's an amazing artist.
Oh yeah, he's a really, really good artist, And that's the thing. It's like that art will be captured in the creature. It's like, it's amazing to me that this guy can draw it and then sculpt it and paint it, from the stuff that's on the paper to the maquette, to the the molding process, and then
right up to the practical suit that the actor's wearing, or whether it's a creature that's animated, through animatronics or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like he's got something that's really cool, and and it may if this campaign succeeds, it won't just be good for him. I think it'll be good for the independent filmmaking world in general, because horror films, I mean, you can literally make a horror film for next to nothing and make a stupid amount of money on it. Look at, that stupid Ouija movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible movie, but it made a ton of money, And it's like, it's frustrating. This is going to be a cool movie.
Yep.
And, whether it makes money or not, I just want to see it. I want to see it at the theater if I could,
And keep in mind, if you, have any hesitations or whatever, and you do go by and you feel like you can give a couple bucks to the campaign, throughout the length of it over the next week, you can always go back after you've donated a couple bucks and increase your reward.
Yeah.
And even a lot of times, I don't know for sure on this campaign, but a lot of them, once the campaign is concluded, if you have donated, you will get a backer email, and it will give you opportunities again if items are available with certain perks, or if they add something that you can also boost. Again, if you don't have the finances now, get a couple bucks in there, get locked in so you are part of this, help it push it towards a successful goal. And then, wait to see what information comes out, and you might be able to contribute more and get that one thing you really wanted but can't afford right now.
Yeah, and I think of it like this, a lot of people will, people like, I understand money's tight. Money is tight for a lot of people. I actually, made some sacrifices so I can increase my pledge, because that's how much I want this thing to succeed. But what kills me is like, people are like, well, I just don't have the money. It's like,
don't buy a pumpkin spice latte this week.
Or, people like, they go out and buy fast food and it's like, wow, I dropped
$25.
I dropped $40 on fast food this week.
Yeah.
But I don't have any money. You know what? Make yourself a sandwich at home.
And support Sandy Collar.
Put $35 into the campaign and $5 for a loaf of bread and some meat.
Guaranteed that sandwich is going to taste a lot better if you know that you donated money to getting something accomplished.
My final thoughts on this, because we're getting close on our time here, is, I hope this project succeeds, and if it doesn't, like I said, I'm going to have a few bad days, but, I can tell that the quotes that Sandy's been putting down, he's been referencing Rocky, he's been talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's been doing all kinds of cool, inspirational kind of things, and it's like, I know he's going to push through, but it would be better if he could push through with all the effort and time and energy that he's put into this campaign. The guy's probably exhausted right
Absolutely.
now, and I'm doing everything I can. We're in the Kansas City area.
Right.
I'm doing everything I can to get the word out. I've been throwing it out to horror sites. Everybody I know that could possibly throw some coin at it, and I want this to succeed because it makes me feel more confident about moving forward on projects on my own. And horror movies are kind of they're like that. You can see a really good horror movie, and you can see a really shitty horror movie. I think this is going to be a really good horror movie, and it's going to have a cool creature, and it's like, what more could you ask for?
And Sandy brought up, a point kind of in my closing thoughts that, when is the last time we've seen a great practical creature effects film? So much these days is dominated by computer graphics and visual effects that
which do have their place.
They do have their place, but you can tell we're getting educated enough in the process that we can tell when it's not done. I mean, there's just surreal actions and stunts and things that just completely separate you from the effect process. Sandy is going back to that point of being able to access the viewer's imagination and tap into those, even the primal fears in the case of a horror film, or just the vast kind of, wonderment of the elements of science fiction and kind of future possibilities in the world. This film looks like it's going to have a bit of like, myth kind of incorporated into the world and other areas, like that. So for me, I wanted to succeed to push back to that day. Film or shows like Face Off, we had a friend that was on Face Off that are highlighting practical effects still and keeping people in that industry. It's still being done, but we have to take every opportunity we can to ensure that we support individuals with his skill level to make sure that these kind of films keep getting produced, because eventually, we're going to see it disappear. It took a huge hit a few decades ago, but it's making a resurgence. And by donating to this campaign, this is going to be a way you can show that this is what you truly want, what you remember as a kid growing up and what brought you into the fantasy of films. So I say just donate. Help it out.
I mean, the human eye can detect fakeness very easily, especially on a big, movie screen. And this is, and I don't want to upset anybody, but like, take a look at, just the glimpses that we've seen of the new Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Using practical effects, using models, paint, and lighting and photography, and doing old school effects, because that's what people loved about the original Star Wars films. And you look at the prequels, which is all blue screen, very sterile laboratory kind of environment, it's like there's a shocking difference between having a real prop on the set or a guy in a suit or whatever, something like that versus, we'll do this in Maya 3D or whatever, and we'll just make quick cuts and make some cool sounds, and they won't notice. Yeah, we notice, people. We notice, and I noticed that this project has enough potential to again change the indie film market a little bit. So, but yeah, please pledge, guys, and get off your butt and do something with your own life too. Don't be armchair critics. Actually, get off your butt and make something, do something with your life. That's what's,
Get out there and create.
Yeah.
The tools are there for you.
And if you can't create, help people who need.
Exactly.
Who can create.
All right, again, make sure to check this campaign out and donate. Again, it's at Kickstarter.com. Search for the term Shallow Water, and you'll find the campaign. Around 220,000 right now. It's got 6 days left to go. Let's help push this up to meet his goal. Again, I'm joined by Jason Turner, actor-director.
Yep, and I hope to see you guys at a screening of Shallow Water.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And I'm your host, Christopher Jensen. You can check out this shortcast and others on YouTube at Reaction TV. And thanks for joining us.